Dear gentle watchers and listeners, welcome to Screens in Focus, the podcast where we talk about your favorite TV shows and movies. I'm Diana, and today we are talking about Bridgerton Season 3, Part 1. Renee is here to join me. I should say Lady Renee is here to join me. How are you, Renee?
I am well and excited to talk this episode. How about you?
I'm excited to talk about this too. And I had seen Part 1 and then I emailed you and I'm like, oh my gosh, so excited. We must talk about it. And you're like, I'm there. Let's do it. So I'm really glad that you watched it and enjoyed it. Well, I think you enjoyed it. You're going to tell me.
Yeah.
So I'll get your feeling on it. But I think you did to some extent. So I did want to start off with our question of the day. And I wanted to pose this question to you and to all of our watchers and listeners out there as to what is your favorite quote from Bridgerton Season 3. But I want to start off with one before I get to actually asking you, because it was so funny and it just had me on the floor. I just thought it was hilarious that they put this in there. But Philippa Featherington said, inserts himself where? And I was thinking, oh my goodness. Oh man.
That was
so
hilarious.
Yes, that was hilarious.
Poor girls had no idea what was supposed to be going on.
Yes. So I actually really love that quote. That has stood out to me. So, but I would love to know if there's a quote that has stood out to you.
Yes, mine's a little less racy. So, but I loved it when Lady Whistledown said, I do not fear change. I embrace it. I just thought that was so good, and, because of who she is, we see this, it was just perfect. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that one.
It's funny, but now that, I know we've known that it's, well, we learned it was her at the end of season 1, right?
Yeah.
I don't even remember now.
I know.
But now as it concentrates on Penelope and then we hear Whistledown's writings, you can't help but think of her constantly, right? I'm not thinking of it as Julie Andrews, even though that's her voice. I'm thinking of it as Penelope. I always think, oh, what is she going to say? What is she going to do? How is she going to be biased? Is she going to talk about herself also? There's all these things that, go through your head as you're thinking about it, because we all know that it is her. So
yeah,
I would say the quote that stood out to me was the carriage scene, which I know we will probably talk about more in just a little bit, but he says to her, feelings like dreaming of you when I'm asleep, and in fact, preferring sleep because that is where I might find you. Oh my gosh. When he said that, oh, it hit my heart. I thought it was the most romantic thing to say, especially that last line, preferring sleep because that is where I might find you. Oh my gosh. Gold.
Yeah.
It's gold. Friends out there, please share with us the quotes that impacted you, that you loved. We would love to know. You can leave us a comment here on YouTube, or you can go to any of our social media and let us know there. All our social media links are in our show notes. And also you can go to screensinfocus.com and get to all of our social media there. All right. So before we get into Bridgerton Season 3, I did want to ask you, Renee, if you had any updates or any news that you wanted to share. I know you have some news about Daryl Dixon.
Yeah. So the first episode will premiere at Tribeca this Saturday. So I don't know what will come out of that, but Norman Reedus and Melissa McBride expect they were announced as attending with a Q&A afterwards with the showrunner David Zabel and possibly some other cast or whoever, So it's hard to say what we'll get out of that and what will be made public. Obviously the episode won't, but so a lot of times they will release the video of the Q&A. So we may learn some tidbits. I don't expect a trailer because they don't usually do that at Tribeca because they're going to view the episode, So I kind of feel that they'll save the official trailer instead of all these teasers that we've had for San Diego Comic-Con, which is what The Walking Dead usually does. A lot of shows and movies wait until that because it's such a big deal. So it'll be interesting to see what is released, if anything. So
yeah, and that is for anyone that doesn't know Daryl Dixon. It's The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon season 2 that we're talking about. We, of course, are diehard fans, and we do podcast on it. We'll be following that season 2 when it comes out. So we're anticipating when that might be. We think maybe August because it's supposed to be in the summer. So stay tuned for that. I just wanted to bring up a couple of premieres that are coming out very, very soon that are highly anticipated. There are a lot of them. I was searching this. There are a lot of them, but I'm just giving you a few that are my highly anticipated. And one is House of the Dragon season 2, and that's on Max, and it's June 16th. So it's just around the corner. Also, The Bear season 3, which is on Hulu, is June 27th. Lost is going to be on Netflix, so I'll be there to rewatch it July 1st. And then Umbrella Academy on Netflix, season 4, August 8th. Did you watch Umbrella Academy?
I started it when it first came out, but I don't know. I don't remember. I can't even remember if I enjoyed it or not. I evidently didn't leave an impression, but I may need to revisit it.
Yeah. So when I had originally watched it, I did because my oldest son told me, "Oh, you got to watch this. This is really good." So I said, "Okay." So I watched it. I'm like, "Okay, this is good," but it stuck with me. Some of the characters that I wanted to see the second one, and it has to do with sort of a time travel-y thing happening, and kind of like a group of misfits. That's for anyone who doesn't know what Umbrella Academy is. So anyway, season 3, I binged it in one day because I was sick. I sat on the couch and I watched it back to back. It was so good. So good. I think that was my favorite season, and I don't know if it's because I was able to watch them all back to back or if it just happened to be my favorite season, but it was so good. That is why I am so excited about season 4, and I just really love it. They did this one thing, and it may sound silly to anybody who doesn't watch it or whatever, but it just really hit for me. This group of siblings that have been put together, they in a nutshell, because there's some time travel-y things, there's another set of siblings that are supposed to be like them, but don't look like them at all, but like kind of taking their place. So they're going to battle each other. Well, the way that they battle each other is a dance off to Footloose. And you did not expect it. Like, this is not something they do. They usually like physically fight, like, physically. But for some reason, they looked at each other like this. They gave each other the eye, and then it's all dun, dun, the music for Footloose started. You see their feet going. It was hilarious. The fact that all these people, the big guys, the small guys, the girls, could all dance enough to do this, like had enough rhythm. Oh, it was the highlight for me. It's really good. You should just go look for that.
Google that.
Yeah, just Google that. It's so good. So I'm really looking forward to these premieres that are coming out soon. But we're going to get to Bridgerton because we cannot wait to talk about it. And please stay tuned until the end because we do have TV and movie recommendations for you. So let's get to Bridgerton season 3, part 1. So this season focuses on the evolving relationship between Colin Bridgerton, played by Luke Newton, and Penelope Featherington, played by Nicola Kaufman. This is inspired by the 4th book, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. So Colin returns from his travels, and we see Penelope undergoing this significant transformation that brings a change in her appearance and also in her confidence. So, Renee, I would love to know what your overall thought was, and if you think this season worked and why.
Well, I initially went into this with an attitude because I was disappointed that they didn't do Benedict's story next, because he's my favorite and I wanted to see his story.
Aww.
And so
Yeah.
I just, he's the second son, and they always say, oh, the second son has all the fun because he doesn't have the responsibility of the, whoever's going to inherit the title, the oldest brother, things like that. And then him just kind of bucking the, traditions and things. He's just kind of a fun character. So I was very disappointed because I did not like Colin at all. I was just like, I don't even like this guy. I don't want to hear a story about him. I love Penelope. So initially I kind of just went into it with a bad attitude, but I will say, I like the new Colin. I like him, more confident, more, like, I guess flirty or whatever it is, that he's just you can just see he's experienced the world now. And so he's more of a man than a boy, and so I did enjoy all of that. And of course, I love seeing Penelope just, spread her wings, do her thing, break away from her family, because she's always been just kind of this, doesn't fit in that family. The other two sisters just do everything the mother says, and they dress how mom wants. And she's always like, no, this is not what I want to do. On top of being whistle down on top of everything, she has that secret identity. Right. So I just love seeing her flourish in this season, or this first part of the season. And then is it the Mondrick? Is that the last name? The boxer and his wife?
I believe so.
I think it's Mondrick.
I believe so. Yeah.
I have loved their storyline. This part of this. It's been so fun to just see that completely unexpected, change for them from a boxer to his son's inheriting this title. So that's I love that little storyline. I think that's great. And I have really enjoyed the side stories, which I've heard some people don't. And I thought, they enrich the rest of the story, because then we're not just, like the first two seasons really focused on the couple, which was fine. That's what they were supposed to do. But now, we're meeting all these new people and I want to know about them. So I have actually really enjoyed these little side stories that they're kind of putting in there. So overall, I think it worked very well. Like I said, I was kind of in an attitude at the beginning, but I changed my mind. And I really did enjoy it, very much. So much I've watched it twice already, just so because I always miss things. But so I think they did a very good job with it. And I've learned to love Colin and how he is now.
It's funny. I barely remember him from the first two. I mean, I remember him being there, but I don't remember specifics about him. And when I see now clips of them back then, they looked so much younger.
Yeah.
Like they both look so much more mature now. I'm sure because they're growing up too. I mean, not like they're really young, but they're young enough that we can see the changes in them physically also. So when I went into this, I thought, well, I'm going to watch it because I loved the first two seasons, and I really loved, what was it called? Was it called Queen Charlotte?
Yeah,
It was called Queen Charlotte.
Oh,
yes.
Outstanding.
I thought that one, to me, actually, I preferred that story. I mean, I love the first two. Don't get me wrong. I love the first two stories. But if someone said you can only watch one of them, it would have been the Queen Charlotte story, just because there was just something about it. The whole mental health issue being brought in, and I just thought it was so good. So I love all of these. So I'm like, of course I'm going to watch this third season, but I'm like, oh, but it's going to be about Penelope and Colin. What's that going to be like? Right. So I didn't have high expectations. I just went into it. Totally blew me away. I thought these actors are so good. They're so good at what they do. I can't give them enough credit. I really can't. I just think that they're both so amazing. They say so much with the looks that they give. There's so much emotion and what they're able to convey. I also feel like they benefited from being in the third season because we were able to get to know their characters a little bit in the first and second season, just like you had your ideas about Colin, right? but then now you've seen him grow.
Mhm.
But if they had just started
Yeah.
here, you wouldn't know he had grown.
Yeah.
You would just know him from here. So I think that that was a benefit for these characters. And I love that we deal with friendship in this season with Eloise and her friendship with both Penelope, and because people have troubled
Mhm.
friendships all the time. So, and again, we'll dig a little deeper into this. These are just the things that make me think that it does work, why it works,
Mhm.
because this is real. People have friendships, people have rifts. So this is a real life thing that happens to people. So I think people can identify with it. And of course, there's romance and scandal and just this era and this opulence. I will say part of me, the opulence was a little bit like, just that privilege, that privilege. I'm like, man, oh man, please. And I know at one point, I think it was Cressida's mom says, your dad's doing this now, and we might have to wear these dresses again. I'm like,
Like, oh, brother.
yeah, exactly. So yeah. And then also, like you had mentioned, that people didn't appreciate the additional
Mhm.
storylines. It didn't bother me. And you're right. I think it did enrich it because it let us know about what is happening with other people. Also, like Francesca
Mhm.
and learning about her and her story and the mom,
Mhm.
which we're going to get into all of that. But because of all those reasons, I really enjoyed this season. So in saying that, I would love to know what a highlight or special moment that stuck out to you. There were so many. Again, this evolving relationship. There was these social events that we were able to see, and then of course the romantic tensions and dramatic confrontation. So, what stood out to you?
Well, of course, all eyes on Penelope at the ball. That was, like just such a neat thing, because she is, has been a wallflower kind of. Her mom just has put her on the shelf as someone who's never getting married, and she just kind of shoves her to the side. And even now that she's got the other two daughters married, she's focused on them having babies. And so Penelope's still pushed to the side. And doesn't she even say, I'm comforted that you'll always be here for me, or something like, I don't remember if she said,
Oh,
I'm pretty sure she said something
yeah.
like that, and it's like, oh, how horrible to hear that. Be like, oh, I'm the one
Yeah.
that's going to
Yeah.
take care of you, because I won't have anything else to do. So I love that. And I really loved one other thing about Colin was, that what he said at the end of the last season about how I would never court Penelope Featherington, all this. And she heard that. And I was so glad that she addressed that, because he needed to know she heard him say that. And then that was not a thing a friend would say. He just says they're friends, they're good friends, they're good friends. But a good friend would not say that about, even if it's true, you wouldn't say that, So I was really, glad that she confronted him and let him know so that kind of stood out to me with her, just her new kind of confidence and stuff. She was able to, I think before she wouldn't have, because she would have been afraid of losing him. But then just she's a different person now, and time has passed and she's gotten more backbone. And another thing that really stood out to me in this part of the season is the Lady Violet, and just how she is so intuitive to each one of her children. She's got so many of them. It's hard to keep them straight, and this and that, but she knows what they need. She knows, if it's patience or whatever it is, like she just feels them out. She knows her children very well. And I love seeing that part of her because, her kids are her life. She lost her husband, and the kids became everything to her. I just love seeing that they've given that, I guess, put emphasis on her role as the mother, and helping them and doing whatever needs done. When Colin, she could tell he was struggling with something when he came down and he wasn't dressed for the party that night. And she's like, what's going on? And he's, I'm just tired. She's like, yeah, she knew there was something. He'd been asking her these questions and this and that, but she knew he needed that. He needed to be home and this and that. But then she kind of did the little dig about, I think Penelope's going to get engaged tonight. That's what we've been hearing. And then she already knew, like that. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. And like you mentioned, the fashions this season too have just been crazy. Just to see every season, the fashions, the ball, like the party decor, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and just great. Like it's just insane to see all the stuff that they do for one party, or the dresses, and how many yards of fabric they need for one dress that they're going to wear once. And
Right.
yeah, so it's
Right.
just kind of fun to see that. And then another thing that really was Francesca. I love seeing just that, little glimpse of her story. It's just been real fun because I didn't expect that to, be a thing this season,
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it's so funny as you were going on each one. I'm like, yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think too. Okay. So Penelope, yes, that's the highlight. Her total change. I love that she has become so confident, so vocal, so just standing up for herself, in a way, fearless, facing her fears. A lot of people can't do it. You just can't. But she has done it again and again. And this is just 4 episodes, because even though they're only 4 episodes, a lot's happening in those 4 episodes. And so we see her just pick herself up and do it again and put herself out there and confront things. And I just really, really just love that about her so much. She was so brave to get this new look and walk out into that ball where everybody just turns their heads. And I just love that. That was probably, yes, one of the best moments when she did that, because everybody's just like, wow. Everybody, male or female, was just amazed with her. And then those 2 guys that are always talking to Colin and they're always bad mouthing her. Oh my gosh, I just want to slap both of them so much. It's like, oh, you guys, she overhears them, or she stumbles when she talks with them. They're so rude, but yet she doesn't let it, like, yes, it'll affect her, but she just, again, will try it again or do it again. So yeah, so I love that about her. And like you said, with her telling Colin about how she feels, and also with her telling, and I might be getting ahead of myself, but her with telling Lord Debling the truth of how she feels, her honesty with him.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of, guts to do that. So yeah, I just applaud Penelope and her story arc. And so I can't wait to see the rest of it. Of course, she has to get the rest of the courage to do the next step that she needs to do. And that's what it's going to be all about. But yeah, just her inner strength was amazing. I too loved Violet so much. She's actually one of my favorite characters, because she is a mom, because she cares about her kids, because she doesn't overstep her boundaries like Featherington's mom. She does, right? She just does she just takes care of it. Although I'm not saying that. It's funny because even though she can be demanding and have her own ways, there's something a little bit, I don't know. I don't like, oh my gosh, she's the worst woman in the world. I don't think that of her, because I do think she cares about her daughters. But with Violet, I love that she takes cues from what she sees from them. Like, can I talk to them about this? Should I step back? And then revisiting, like with Colin, like, oh, I think yesterday I heard you say this. Is this okay? So I just like how she checks in with them. And she's done that with Francesca too. Like or just the expression on her face when she realizes something, that they are happy. And that brings her joy to see her kids being happy. And like you mentioned, Colin's swagger, he has that. Definitely has that. So let's talk a little bit about the characters, their relationships, or any themes that you saw. What do you think about any of the relationships or characters?
I don't like Cressida and Eloise being friends. That girl is I just feel like she's just means trouble for people. And, I understand, she's just trying to have a friend, but it's like, why would you pick that one? She's the furthest. You can see she's a bully and she's all these things. I mean, we know why she's that way, but I mean, we learn whatever. But yeah, she's a difficult character to like get on board with.
Well, Colin even says that to Eloise. Like, why are you friends with him?
Yeah.
What is up with this?
So yeah, that was different. But I loved Lord Debling. I really like that guy. I know he's a little off, but he's very honest. He is not impressed by the ton and everything. He's like, I've got my thing. I'm doing my thing over here and I don't care. The only reason he even came to any of the parties is because he's got to find a wife. He's like, well, I guess I have this where I'm at in my life and I need to do this. So, he's looking just for a person, not even to be in love with or whatever, but that's a whole nother story. But I did like the character. It was interesting. He's a vegetarian. He's, all these things that's just not, it's funny because you don't always associate that with this period of time, which is part of the charm of Bridgerton because of all the inclusion that they do and all the, they step outside the norms of what, that Regency era was and stuff. And so it's just refreshing to see all those, but I did enjoy him a lot. I don't know if we'll see more of him or not in the next, we'll see what happens, but I did enjoy his character. And I'm interested about, is it Lord Anderson, Marcus, Lady Danbury's brother?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm like, I feel like he's a sneaky guy and something's going to happen there, but I don't know. I was like, what's going to happen? I really enjoyed seeing the Viscount and his Viscountess Kate come back and from their honeymoon, and they're still kind of in that lovey-dovey phase. And I like that she's befriended Violet and she's very understanding of her role as a mom. She she's like, I'll find my dowager house and all this, she's like, it's okay. We're, in India, the moms stay long after they're married, just making her feel comfortable. And it's fun to see that instead of the normal, those butting heads kind of thing. Yeah. So I really like that too. I thought that was a lot of fun to see their relationship.
It makes me wonder about those actors because they kind of had their season and now they're in it a little bit, but they're not going to be the highlight of it. So like, how do they manage that? Are they on? I mean, I know this is something totally not within this particular season, but it makes me curious. It does make me curious. Are they considered like a limited commitment and can they do other shows and movies? I don't know. It makes me curious to know that because I did think about that. And, we know the first couple, Daphne is gone or, not, but they're, it's not highlighting their relationship. So that does make me curious about that. But Cressida, man, I don't know what's going to go there. But it was kind of nice because you always need some sort of villain, right? So I thought it was, I guess, interesting because her mom tells her that we are going to pick someone for you if you don't find someone. So now she's like, okay, I need to find a husband. And of course she has her eye on Lord Debling, but then so does Penelope because Penelope kind of fields some other people, but no one really doesn't live up to her intellectually the way that she wants, to communicate and have a relationship with someone. So I think it was nice because Lord Debling found her so interesting because she had her views and she was honest with him. Because I think when she first talked with him, she wasn't even considering him. She was just like started a conversation and that was easier for her because when she was trying was the times that it was difficult for her to convey what she really needed to. And then that's when she realized I just need to be me. And that's when she goes and tells him, look, I don't like nature. This is what I like. And then Lord Debling says, well, I don't want someone like me. I want someone that is going to have their own interests, have their own life because I'm not always going to be around and you need to take care of yourself, which kind of leads into, I love how they make him able to figure things out because I hate it when there's clues and the other person can't figure anything out. But they made him so that he looked, pretty observant in knowing and putting pieces together of, what to do and, how to move forward. But before we get to that, I want to talk about the balloon incident because that was kind of a big thing, a big thing that happened in Bridgerton and thinking about how that happens with the balloons because that could really happen, right? Because they don't have the equipment to really tie that balloon down and it almost hitting Penelope and then he runs and I'm like, who's going to save her? And they show he runs and protects her. And then it's Colin that's holding it down and getting everybody orchestrated to, to get it under control. So I thought that was a pretty cool scene. And I think that helped propel their relationship forward. But at the same time, with Cressida, here she is in competition with Penelope. Like when they're both on that dance floor and they see each other from across the room and they're like, oh, I got to walk fast. And then, oh, I got to walk fast. And it's like, which one gets there first? And it ends up being Cressida. So, but it makes me wonder if he will, because now he's told Penelope, okay, I'm not going to propose to you, because, well, he doesn't tell me that specifically, but that's basically what it is, because I can't worry that you're interested in somebody else while I'm gone so long. So it makes me wonder if he will turn to Cressida. I don't know about that, because she's totally interested in him and she still needs a husband.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if he does stick around. I did want to bring up Francesca because I didn't realize she was recast until after I'd seen it the first time. Because I thought to myself, how did they cast such a perfect person to play this role? Because I feel like sometimes the casting is so well done because you can just see somebody and how they come across on film or on TV. They just have this thing about them, this light about them. And so I thought, wow, she's really standing out. And I didn't notice her before. And how is she doing that? That's so cool. And then I realized, well, they cast her because the other person had conflicts. And so scheduling conflicts. So they cast, this actress in this role. But also I found it interesting that she is considered, I guess, a diamond also. And I'm thinking, wow, that's two in one family. I wonder how often that happens. Right? Yeah. Because I would think if I was Violet, I'm like, whoa, I produce these diamonds that the queen is, helping along here to find someone for them. So, which reminds me, there's a part where it's Francesca. It's Francesca, where they bring her lemonade and she doesn't take the lemonade and she goes running off, because I think that's the time that, and I can't remember his name, the one that she does find charming and interesting. What is his name? Do you know his name by chance?
John Sterling, the one she met outside.
Yes.
Yeah, John Sterling.
Yes. John Sterling. Thank you for knowing his name. Because I don't know if that is when he gave her the revised music. So, and that's when she got so excited and she takes off. But it was so funny because the queen's like, what's happening? Why is she leaving? And then, oh my God, and I forgot his name too.
And guy.
Yeah. And he's so good in Queen Charlotte too, the younger version of him. He's so good, but he's so funny. He's all, no, she's not taking the lemonade. It was a funny scene. I love those humorous scenes that they put in all this. But yes, I loved seeing Francesca. I love seeing this actress in this role. She did a really good job. And I do like they're giving us a little bit of this, because I wonder, is that going to be with season 4 or is it going to be Benedict?
Yeah, there's all these teasers. Everybody's saying they know, the creators know who the next season will be, but they're not revealing anything. So they've had, I don't know about Francesca actress. I don't know if she said anything, but Benedict, I think he's done a couple clips kind of teasing stuff. So they're not saying anything yet. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Oh, you're going to have some pissed off people.
Well, people are already upset because, they wanted to. And one of the reasons they did say that they did this was partly because what were you going to do with Colin and Penelope for a whole nother season? I mean, you already brought them this far. So then what would you do with them if we were watching Benedict's story in this season? What were you going to do with Colin and Penelope that whole time? They can't just keep you know what I mean? It would have been awkward. So I understand why they did it. But then they also said they thought they could have a lot of fun with Benedict's character because he is kind of like the black sheep. He does his own thing. He doesn't he doesn't care about any of this, pomp and all this kind of stuff. He just does what, he'll go walk with Lady Danbury just so he doesn't have to dance at the balls, And so, so it honestly wouldn't surprise me if they skip him again and go to Francesca. I will be disappointed, but I just have a feeling.
Oh man, I wonder. It'll be very interesting to see who will be next. Mm-hmm. All right. So are there any other thoughts or tidbits or anything else you want to talk about?
I was just still can't get over, if you're looking in the background at all the decorations, it's just how lavish these things are for one party, just all the things they do. And one thing that I don't know that I didn't mention, but I don't know what the modiste name is, but she's got her and Penelope know each other's secrets. And so, because Penelope knows she is not French and she knows Penelope's whistle down. And so there at one point she said something about, this has been very good for your business, and the modiste says, yeah, for yours too, or whatever, or back and forth. I forget which one it says at first, but this is benefiting the both of our businesses, basically. So I did like that little interaction between those two.
I'm sorry. I want to go back to the relationships because I just realized we didn't talk about Eloise. And I think that's an important relationship to talk about as far as friendship. So what did you think about Eloise in their friendships with Penelope and Cressida?
Yeah. So, I understand why she's upset with Penelope. She did things and said things that were, damaging to Eloise. And I mean, because she even did it to herself, and Eloise said, Penelope, I can't believe you put all that in there. She's like, well, if I didn't put stuff about myself, that would be very obvious. It would be a little too obvious. Yeah. So she knew she had to do the same to herself that she's done to everybody else, and so it's one of those things where I think they'll come back together as friends, I would think, but I don't know. But yeah, and it was just hard for me to understand how Eloise could be friends with Cressida, even though her and Penelope are at odds at this point. It's like, how could she just let her do those things and say those things and continue to be her friend, because there's other people she could have, just as, the other vapid people that are just whatever, that she could have been befriended. But I know, like you said, there has to be some conflict and there's got to be a bad guy or whatever, and so Cressida's kind of filling that void at this point. But, they have a lot of history together and stuff. And so I would think at some point they'll have to come back together, but it was hard. I guess it was kind of hard to watch just because I was just getting frustrated with how how Eloise was acting, I guess, befriending Cressida and then just kind of throwing Penelope under the bus, like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. I'll just let her talk bad about her and all that. So
it's hard because, like you said, Penelope put Eloise in a hard position, but Penelope has tried to apologize several times. And you see that. You see how, even with Eloise, you see the moments where she wants to reach out to her, or she kind of backs her up a little bit. Like when she thinks it is Cressida, which I thought it was too, that says that Penelope had enlisted Colin to help her find a husband, and then that gets out. And then Eloise gets upset because she told Cressida, so she thinks Cressida spread the rumor. And then Cressida's all, well, why don't you, look at yourself, because you're the one I didn't say anything and you were talking loud.
Yeah, you weren't.
So people may have heard you. Whether that's true or not, we don't know, because we didn't hear who heard what. That sparked. So that little bit of a dynamic was interesting because Eloise, because she's like, oh my gosh, you've gone too far. What did you do? Don't be so cruel to her. And like when she tore her dress too, I can't remember. I think she told her something at that point too.
I don't know that Eloise said anything to her. That I'm not sure.
Maybe not. Okay.
Or maybe she did.
Colin.
Yeah.
Could have been just when Colin went running out to her. So I really like that whole friendship theme. I love just seeing Eloise in a friendship with Penelope's not fragile, but conflict. They're, trying to figure out how to navigate it at this point. And then also her relationship with Cressida. Yeah. Like, why would she be friends with her? Do you know, the first time I was watching it, in the first, maybe the second episode, I thought to myself, could Cressida and Eloise get together? Could this relationship flourish in a romantic way? It did cross my mind. Now, when I watch it a second time, I didn't get that same feeling, but that's not to say it couldn't have happened or it won't happen. It just, because sometimes innocently things can, if you're really good friends with somebody, sometimes all of a sudden it becomes like, oh, I could have romantic feelings for you. So I don't know. I don't know what'll happen between, in their friendship. Also, Colin and Penelope's relationship. I mean, there were some pivotal moments here that happened. There were, when she read what he wrote, and then he cuts his hand, and then he gets a little bit upset that she read his writing. She doesn't, but it's really good. And then that moment in the courtyard where he asks her, or she asks him to kiss her, that was very pivotal. And then just different times that they're meeting each other. Do you know what scene comes to mind? I don't know why it's sticking out, because I don't remember anything specific about the moment, but something about it did strike me. When he goes to talk to her, they're outdoors, and Penelope is with her lady that's always with her. I don't know the name of that person, and he comes to her, and they go underneath that a big tree, and he goes underneath it. I don't know why I love that visually. I thought that was just a beautiful scene for him to go under and go talk to her. And do you know, I was afraid so many times that people were going to like find him out or catch them. Like, no matter where they went, even like the kiss part, like, oh my
Someone's
God,
going
is
to see
somebody
this,
going to see
and
it?
force him to marry her,
Or, all of that. And that part. And then of course the carriage part, which you and I had discussed previous to starting this, how that was a really big scene for a lot of people. And it is a really big scene because it's the ending scene that we see here, where he proposes. I mean, he doesn't actually say the words, but he says, his last words to her are you
going to marry me or not? Isn't that what he says?
Yeah, are you going to marry? Yeah, basically, are you going to marry me or not? But he says something like, good God, or I don't know what he says. He makes some exclamation and says, are you going to marry me or not? But man, that was a steamy scene for them. And it was very satisfying too. Like, yes.
Finally, crying out loud. Yeah.
So is there anything you want to say about their relationship or those scenes or anything that stuck out them?
Yeah, I liked all the, like you said, those things that, we could just see him watching her. And like when he would see her with Lord Debling, he was like, you could see he was getting jealous. He's like, wait a minute, I don't like this, and he stayed away, but you could definitely tell he was not feeling that relationship at all. He was starting to get very jealous, and just all of the other things, because by that point he's having the dreams about her because they had the kiss and everything. And so I loved seeing him get a little jealous. I think that was good that he did.
Yes. Well, because we know how she feels about him already. But to see her, but she's accepted, okay, we're just friends. I need to figure it out. I need to get married because of what her mother had said to her. She's all, heck, I'm not staying here. I need to go find my way and such. But yes, to see him and see that mounting anxiousness or oh my gosh, she could get away. She could get away. Someone could marry her, and he's freaking out because he's like,
oh no,
oh my gosh. Yeah, exactly. And so I love that he runs after her into the carriage. So, and of course I knew, because of what I'd read, the carriage scene means something, and we're going to see it next. And then I was thinking, what about the men driving the carriage? I'm like, what do they hear? What do they know? What do they
everything?
I want to know.
The servants always know everything.
Like the chauffeur, or the or the butler or the maid. Yes, they know everything.
They know more than anybody. Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh my goodness. It was a good scene. All right. So so back to other thoughts and tidbits. I had a few just little nuggets that I wanted to bring up that I had learned. So for Penelope's transformation, they had taken Rita Hayworth and Jessica Rabbit's look and
so
reference
funny
points.
because I thought with her hair, I was like, that's like Jessica Rabbit. I totally thought that. And so that's hilarious because I was exactly thinking like just that swoop of her hair.
Yeah.
And now that you say Rita Hayworth, I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly what she looks like. Yeah. So that's cool. That's really neat.
The article that I was looking at had the pictures. And so you could see that resemblance of what they were going for and how she had tight pin curls and then she had loose hair. Oh my gosh. The loose hair was so much better. I thought, wow, that like looks amazing.
Yeah. Just like the citrus colors. That's not her color wheel, I'm like, that's so yeah, she looks so much better in that emerald, man. That
in the green.
Oh gosh, that was gorgeous.
She looked amazing. I mean, she must have felt so. I mean, even her as an actress going from that look to this look, it gives me chills just thinking about it because so she probably felt like when she walked into the ball as that person, she was probably feeling it as the actress too. Like, oh, look at me.
Yeah.
I can look like this. She has the most beautiful skin
I know.
and her eyes. Like I was thinking when they were kissing, he must have been like, wow, these eyes, right? Are just penetrating. They're beautiful. Yeah, because she just has beautiful features. And the intimacy coordinator, they had detailed choreography and discussions with the actors about their comfort levels before this came out. And I think I heard both the actors talking about how everything is choreographed. Like it's not just like get in there and just do things. Like they had to try this, do this, don't do that. That's too much. You guys are over kissing. Less. It was funny because I heard Nicola say, she says, we were like smashing in each other's mouths. And then they're like, no.
Too much. No. Too much.
Yeah. She's all, oh man, we thought this was going to look sexy. It's like, no.
Not a little. No.
So they had to pull back, and do it differently. So it's nice that they have that and that they're able to, go through that, having an intimacy coordinator do that for them. And then the Queen's hairpiece. Oh my gosh, her hair.
It just gets bigger and it's amazing.
So I read, it says the elaborate swan wig involved multiple prototypes and was one of the most challenging pieces of the season. And especially when I went back the second time and was watching it, I was like, it's like I don't know, a piece of art on her head.
How did she even keep it up there,
Yeah. And then the recasting of Francesca, her name is Hannah Dodd. That's the actress who plays her. And then you had talked about Naomi and Will Mondrich, about their storyline and how their son took over the Kent, I think the Kent fortune, and he's now the Baron. So
I liked how I loved when they were at for one of their first parties and Benedict comes up to them and I think he's just talking to him. Yeah. He's just talking to Will and he says like, how do we, you grew up in this and you still don't know all the rules.
Oh yes.
Supposed to. And he's like, you see, and he points out these people and he says, when you're married, you can make your own rules. And I love that he shared that with them because they would have had no idea that they could be their own people, and not just have to fall asleep in the separate bedrooms because the maid said so or the housekeeper or whatever and that kind of stuff. So I love that he shared that with them and pointed out the other married couples who live their own thing because it's like your job's done. You got married. Okay, now you can do your own thing. So I really liked that.
I do like them and I can't wait to see their story unfold as we go on. All right. We are at, and the award goes to. So, Renee, I would love to know, what was your favorite quote, character, or moment?
Well, I picked a moment because it was more, I tried to whittle it down to a quote, but it was like, nope, it was the whole moment when Benedict and Lady Tilly Arnold were in the tent, and he's like talking about they're listening to the balloon man about how this innovative thing and blah blah blah, and he leans and he's like, oh, and these mothers blah blah blah, and he realizes he's talking to a woman, not a man, and she's like, oh, because a woman couldn't be interested in this blah blah blah. And then she talks about, isn't this tent a balloon because you're all filling it with hot air or something?
Yeah.
So I just love that their introduction of those two characters and that whole scene between them. It was just, I love that so much.
Well, I'm so glad you brought them up because I didn't bring her up at all. So I'm glad because
she's interesting.
Yeah, she was a good. Yeah, she is very interesting. So you tell she's a strong, independent, confident woman. Smart.
Yeah.
So,
smart,
so that was fun to see. So it was hard pinpointing my moment. And actually, originally it was a quote, and it was a quote that I said at the beginning. But I think for me, I am, the end. Okay. Yeah. It was really satisfying. Okay. It was really satisfying, but I'm going to go with the kiss because I thought it was very tender. It was very sweet. It was Penelope asking Colin to basically her not wanting to die without being kissed. And I felt like she was very honest. She wasn't like manipulating him like, oh, I'm going to get him to kiss me. She was really thinking, man, I could really not find anybody. Maybe no one will ever kiss me. And I want to know what it feels like. And for her to ask him and for him to oblige, because at that point, I don't think he knows that he has his feelings for her. I'm sure he does, but doesn't realize it. And that is the turning point for him because all of a sudden that's when he has all the dreams, because after he kisses her and they have that moment and they first kiss, and they back off and then they kiss again. Oh my God. Oh, they went in for more. And then they show somebody dreaming and you think it might be her, but it's him. It's Colin dreaming. So it's like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
So I think I love that because we see that he has this revelation and he has sparked a fire in him, go after her and figure all that out. So, and have the conversations with his mom and everything else to figure it out and to know that you can be friends. That's what his mother was able to represent because, well, they did love each other as soon as they saw each other, but I'm sure they were friends too, right? I mean, they were, even though they loved each other, they were friends. So I think it's just a cool thing. So I love that part. It was a good moment. So, oh man. Okay. So now it ends with Colin at the carriage proposing to her. And I've seen trailers. I'm sure you've seen the trailers. It seems to be about Eloise wanting Penelope to come clean with Colin that she is whistled down. And she doesn't want to confront that. And then I think she gives her an ultimatum. So I don't know. What do you think is going to happen? What do you hope for?
I know it's always hard when you watch those trailers because you don't know what order they're in. And of course they're going to make him seem the most, just so that we all speculate and try to figure this out and we're never going to probably. But it's one of those things where, it does. That's exactly what it looks like. Like she's constantly, everything you see, it's like, you've got to tell him. And, she says at one point, Penelope says something like whistle down is power, like she's afraid to relinquish that power, but I think Eloise, she knows that's, if he finds out after they're married, I mean, it's going to be, it's going to be bad, and that he needs to know going into this, that what situation he's, marrying into or whatever. So it'll be very interesting to see if she comes clean or if Eloise, because there's like a toast at like I think maybe the engagement party or, it's something because they're talking about the wedding. It doesn't look like the wedding. It looks like a party of some sort and they're toasting and she says something to the effect of knowing everything about each other And then she kind of glances at Penelope. And then again, you don't know if it's the same scene or not, but then Colin glances at Penelope, like, what did I miss here? But again, you don't know if it's in the same scene or not because the trailer is always clipped together. But that's what it looked like in the trailer. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens with that, because obviously it has to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. And, will they delve into more of the other stories as we see this, which I hope they kind of will.
I would think they started that way. I think, obviously the focus will be Colin and Penelope, but
yeah,
I mean, and this is kind of a spoiler from the book, which they don't always follow the book, but in the book, Cressida tells everyone that she is Whistledown.
Oh, that she herself.
And then she finds out that it's Penelope and she blackmails her. So I don't know if they'll have time. I mean, and they only have 4 episodes. It'll be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if they'll be able to squeeze that in, and because the circumstances are very different. I believe Cressida's husband, like, I think her husband died, like she's lost a husband and then she's struggling and things. And, so there's no time for all that on her, her part of the story anyway, but I don't know if, you know what I mean, if it'll play out. So anyway, it would be interesting to see, but I just don't know that they can fit that in 4 episodes,
I did hear about the part, I didn't hear about the part her saying that she was whistled down, but I did hear about the part that it was Cressida who is the one that sort of blackmails her, but what's she going to blackmail her? I mean, what's she going to get?
Well, she somehow, because her husband died, so she doesn't have any money. And so she's trying to get
money.
Yeah, because, Penelope
okay.
has her own money. She's got from the sale of the, the papers and that she's, got a substantial amount of money. So I just don't know how they would squeeze that in 4 episodes. Because obviously, I mean, I'm sure by the end of the season, they're going to get married, Colin and Penelope. So how would you fit that in that quickly? So I don't know. But anyways, I found that out recently and I was like, whoa, that would be such a cool story to play out. But I don't know if they'll have time for that.
Right. And I was thinking, well, if it is Cressida doing it, why are they showing us so much of Eloise unless that is to throw us off a little bit, or maybe it's both of them. I don't know.
I don't know.
Because they never wanted, I know they never want to give us too much, but I will be excited to see part 2 drops June 13th. So I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. And, people are upset that they broke it up into 2 pieces, 2 parts. I'm fine with it. And the reason I'm fine with it is because it's not that far away that they've released them. If it had been like 6 months or whatever, that would make me mad. But one, it's close enough. And also it might have to do with just Netflix. Maybe they just want to do it. But I always think to myself, okay, they have to produce these things. Would you rather them hold them longer so that they can give us to us? Or would you rather get one group and then as they're working on finishing up the second one, do the second group? I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I'm fine with it. I mean, I don't know. Plus it's given us time to kind of like rewatch the first part and like, because then I'll want to rewatch it all together then too. So
yeah. So it'll be fun. So I can't wait for it. Oh man. Okay. Well, that is it for Bridgerton season 3, part 1. Come back for part 2. But we want to switch gears and we want to share our TV and movie recommendations with you. So Renee, please share with us what you have been watching.
So last night we finished Eric with Benedict Cumberbatch. I did not know what I mean, like I read the synopsis and I knew what, it was touted as this, that, whatever. It was very different than what I thought it was going to be. And it was so good. It was, very unexpected, things that happened. I didn't expect that to happen the way things, I hate giving away things. So I try to be very, cryptic here because it is pretty new. But yeah, it was very good. And I definitely recommend it. It's a, kind of a crime thriller drama kind of thing, with which I didn't really realize all that was going to be in it from the synopsis and things. But anyway, yeah, I really recommend it. It was done very well. So definitely watch that. And then we're late on the band.
That's on Netflix.
Oh, yes.
That's on Netflix.
Yes, Eric is on Netflix. Right. Yes. And then Killing Eve is now on Netflix, and we never watched that. So we have started watching that. I can't even remember where we're at, but we can't stop watching that one. Have you watched that one?
I haven't. I started.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't suck me in the very first episode,
Sure.
but I know so many people love it. I really like her a lot.
She's so good.
Sandra Oh. Mm-hmm. So I probably should give it another shot.
Yeah, and Jodie Comer. Is it Jodie Comer?
Oh, she's going to be in Bike Riders.
Right. Well, she's in this movie. She's in Killing Eve.
Okay.
And she plays a dynamic character. She is phenomenal in her role, and I recommend it because it's one of those things too. I always saw it and everything, but never watched it. But it's on Netflix now also, so that one's really good. And then I'm just rewatching Sex and the City because it's on Netflix, and sometimes you just need a quick 20 minutes to fill in there, because I've already watched Friends and How I Met Your Mother and New Girl so many times. I needed something new. So doing that. And then I finally watched Anyone But You, the movie on Netflix. And that was such a cute romantic comedy. And again, it was one of those kind of like, you always know this is going to happen or that's going to happen, but it was very good the way they played it out. And it was, again, a little unexpected how things played out, because you always know, okay, they're going to get together or whatever it is, but it was very good the way they did it. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I liked it too. I was like hesitant to watch it because it actually did not get the best of reviews. Right. And I thought, I don't know if I want to watch this, but no, it was cute. I liked it. So it was a good one. Recently did a rom-com podcast episode, really short one. And that is one of our movies in there. So we reviewed some really cute rom-coms out right now. So it'll be fun. All right. So I want to share with you what I have been watching, and Outer Range season 2 started on Prime. Are you watching this at all?
We watched the first season. So yeah, I just didn't know when I knew it was coming, but again, we've been watching these other things and I haven't kept up on when it came out. So
yeah, it just I shouldn't say just finished, but I had started it when it started, but we didn't binge them all together. Yeah. We watched 2 at a time. And by the time we got to the last one, I think it was done. Did they drop? I'm not sure if they dropped them all together or not, but bottom line, at this point, they are all out. This is with Josh Brolin. It has to do with a black hole and some time travel. That's what you got to know. And Josh Brolin lives on a ranch. So it's got that cowboy feel, but also with some time travel.
Yeah, it's very,
sci-fi. Yeah. Cause there's a black hole on the back of their ranch. So season 2, I'm like, it's over. Now I got to wait. How long? Wow. Cause it was good. It was good. And me and my husband were like, okay, what are we going to do now? What do we do now? We want to know what's going to happen. Kind of leaves you like somewhat on a cliffhanger because you're like, oh man. I do want to mention 2 series that I finished, and one is Palm Royale on Apple TV. This is with Kristen Wiig and Laura Dern and Cara Burnett and so many other people, Allison Janney. Yeah, Ricky Martin. Yes. Did you end up watching?
We did. I liked it.
Okay. Yes. Yes. And I will say that I cried in the finale. Kristen Wiig made me cry. It's not supposed to be really sad at all, but I was like, felt for her so much. I love Kristen Wiig. Yeah, I really do. I think she's phenomenal, and I think she's really good in this. And I really enjoyed Palm Royale. It's very different than other shows that are out there right now. It's this throwback feeling, and it works for me. I think it works. And then I finished Under the Bridge.
I have one episode.
Oh man. Okay. I'm not going to tell you anything. Well, you can look. This is a true story.
Yeah, right.
Hulu. But I do want to say that it's so dark and disturbing because it's real and you know that this girl was murdered by her peers. it really bothered me.
Mhm.
Like, I can watch all kinds of stuff, but I think when things are real,
Mhm.
that's when it kind of hits differently for me. And I could see how some people would not be able to
Mhm.
watch
Oh,
this
for sure.
because it's just not like you see what they're doing, but knowing
Mhm.
what they've done.
Well, their
And the
behaviors,
fact
those girls
their
they were
behavior.
scary.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that
yeah.
mindset.
Yes, exactly. And that's why it freaks me out. And it's
Mhm.
just like too,
Mhm.
it bothers me that people are like this
Mhm.
because it's people not having empathy or sympathy
Mhm.
for another human being and just being, you know, closed off to that feeling, having no feelings towards something and
Mhm.
just acting on, you're being a narcissist.
Mhm.
I don't know, but a psychopath.
Yeah.
I don't know, but, yeah, so that was that. But I do wanna mention 2 movies that I saw at the theater, and I just wanna mention them because 'cause they're both really good. I saw Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. It takes place 300 years after Caesar and that battle happened, and it's Noah, he's a new chimpanzee, and it's his journey, and I love him. He's kind of like Caesar in his innocence a
Mhm.
little bit and being good, and he is with an eagle clan, and so it kind of delves into eagles and how they impact their clan
Mhm.
and also with humans. And I feel like, did you watch this,
No.
Renee, by
No.
chance?
Mm-mm.
No, but I feel like it makes you question, are you for the humans or are you for the apes?
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of like trust and almost looking at humans as being maybe sort of the bad people sometimes, but then I'm kind of like, but you're the human, and do we want humans to come back? And it's like, ugh. But then Noah is such a good, not all apes and not all humans are good,
Mhm.
right? So it's the struggle of like, whoa, who's going to, uh, you know, are they going to coexist or is one going to take over the other? So it does make you think about that. But I will say, the CGI in this to make these apes
Mhm.
look human is so realistic. My husband and I went, my son went with us, and my son said, "Oh my gosh, that was like freaked me out when I saw the monkey talk human." I was like, "What?" That was bizarre because he hasn't seen all of
Okay.
them like we have.
Mhm.
So I think he was a little taken aback as to
Like,
it, but he really enjoyed the movie a
mhm.
lot.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then Furiosa, Mad Max Saga. So I had seen the original Mad Max. So that isn't really my jam so
Mhm.
much, but I can appreciate them as movies. My husband loves them.
Yeah.
So when Fury Road came out, it ended up being this magnificent, epic thing with, Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy. It's so good, right? And so then here we have this Furiosa, and it stars Anya Taylor Joy and Chris Hemsworth.
Mhm.
And when I saw that they were both in it, I'm like, we have to watch this. So good, like really good. And like I said, this world is
Mhm.
not really the world that I gravitate toward. And in that, I think the original ones had to do with so much about, these men living in an apocalyptic world and just the things that they do. But I think because this is just my perspective, I think because the last two do have Furiosa, you get to see a woman
Mhm.
and a warrior woman. It's kind of like
Yeah.
Michonne and Carol
Yeah.
and Maggie in The Walking Dead. Right. You see these fierce
Mhm.
women who survive. And so I think for me, that is what was working for me in this film. But besides that,
Mm.
the epicness of it, George Miller and his world, and it's beautiful and it's details. Even me, I'm like, wow. Oh, wow. The war rigs, the races, the everything. It's really good. So I would highly recommend both those movies. They were really good. And I did put out a blog about my 6 top movies this year because I realized there's so many movies that I've been to at the theaters that were been so good. So you can go check out that blog at screensinfocus.com if you're looking for more But friends out there, if you have any recommendations or feedback for us, we do have a phone number, and it is 669-223-8542. That is in our show notes. And of course, you can get to all our social media on our website. But I want to thank Renee for being with us today to break down Bridgerton. Thank you, Renee.
Well, thank you for having me. I can't wait to talk about part 2.
Me too. I'm looking so forward to it, and it's not just around the corner, so I can't wait. So, yeah, and please, we'll be back with Daryl Dixon season 2 also, and so please come back for that. And yeah, I just love Renee and her perspective, and I love talking with her. It's just so much fun.
Oh, thanks.
So, yes. So, friends out there, thanks for tuning in. We are grateful you tuned in, and we hope something that we said today resonated with you, gave you a chuckle, some happiness, some positivity, or inspiration. Again, don't forget, you can get to everything in our show notes or at screensinfocus.com. We would love it if you would subscribe, if you would share this with other people. That would just make me so happy. So please do that. Keep watching, keep exploring, and keep those screens in focus. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.